Earlier this year, I reviewed the PS4 back button attachment. It adds 2 additional programmable buttons to a standard DualShock 4, and I thought it wasn't a bad buy at $50. But what if I told you for the same money you could have 4 additional buttons in a much sleeker package? Well, you totally can, so long as you're up for a little DIY modding. This is a controller that's been modified using the ExtremeRate Dawn Remap Kit. It's a do-it-yourself modification that can be installed without any soldering. That's soldering for you North American folk. ExtremeRate were nice enough to send me over this kit for review, so I modded a controller and I've spent the past couple of weeks putting it through its paces. Now, if I'm being totally honest, I didn't have high hopes for this product. Not because I doubted that it would work, I was more concerned that I would completely mess up the install and destroy a perfectly working controller. Thankfully that didn't happen, and while I don't think this solution will be the right fit for everyone, it occupies a bit of a niche in the market and I like it quite a bit. So what exactly does it do? The ExtremeRate Dawn Remap Kit is a mod kit that allows you to add up to 6 extra buttons to an official PS4 controller, which can be mapped to any of the existing buttons. If you decide to do the solder-free install like I did, then you miss out on the ability to remap the analog sticks and the touchpad, but you still get access to all of the other buttons. ExtremeRate also does a similar remap kit for Xbox One controllers, but this video will focus exclusively on the PS4 kit. Now, this kit is only compatible with the newer versions of the DualShock 4, specifically the JDM 040, 050 and 055 models. Unfortunately, it's kind of hard to tell which version you have simply by looking at it. With these models, you can usually see a light through the top part of the touchpad, but the only way to be sure is to open it up and take a look inside. This might sound a little scary, but you're going to need to open it up anyway, and I think this is a good way to gauge your level of confidence in doing the install. If cracking open your controller proves to be too hard, then that's probably a good sign this isn't the right option for you. So, who is this product aimed at? The Remap Kit sits somewhere in the middle of adapter products like the Strike Pack and Sony's back button, and then something like a Pro Pad such as the Astro C40 TR. It's priced roughly the same as an adapter. Actually, here in Australia it's the same price as the PS4 back button. This makes it an attractive alternative if 2 buttons doesn't sound like enough, but giving up your rent to afford something like the C40 TR isn't an option. While it doesn't offer nearly the same level of customization and features as a Pro Pad, at $50 it is competitively priced. This all sounds great, but it does come with a significant caveat, and that is, it requires you to get your hands dirty and do the install yourself. You probably could pay someone to do the install for you, but this would undoubtedly increase the cost. Now, the install isn't hard, but it is quite involved. The instructions are easy to follow though, and there's a video to walk you through the process too. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, it is possible to install this kit without any soldering. I couldn't solder to save my life, but even still, I'd rank myself as an intermediate level tinkerer. So I'm pretty comfortable opening things up and putting them back together without breaking them. Most of the time. The DualShock 4 definitely isn't the hardest PlayStation controller to get open. That award goes to the DualShock 3. But it also isn't super easy, and getting the shell open and putting it back together is unquestionably the hardest part of the install if you ask me. I'm not going to go through the install process. Like I said, it comes with instructions and there's a detailed video which does a much better job at explaining it than I ever could. All up, I'd say it took me about 40 minutes to install, but it's probably possible to do it in about half that if you're a bit more confident than I am. The kit comes with just about everything you need, including a screwdriver and a little tool for opening the shell. But you'll also need some thin double-sided tape, a small pair of cutters or sturdy scissors, and I'd recommend a tiny flathead screwdriver too. I actually really enjoyed the modding process. I like building Lego, and following the instructions kind of felt like the same thing, only at the end you feel like a bit of a badass if you've never modded anything before. The custom back shell that comes with the kit has 4 holes in it, allowing you to add 4 additional buttons by default. You actually get 2 extra loose buttons in the kit, and it is possible to solder these on as well, giving you a total of 6 programmable buttons. You'll need to modify the shell yourself though to accommodate them. This isn't essential of course, but it's a nice little bonus for the advanced tinkerer. Once assembled, it's discreet and looks very similar to an unmodded controller, so long as you choose the plain black or white coloured backing shell. There are some very loud options if you prefer, and they also do front shells so you can have a completely custom look if that's what you want. The custom casing is well done and very close to an official pad, so close in fact that it fits in the official charging dock. This is something that adapters can't do unless you remove them, and it was one of my biggest complaints with Sony's back button. The buttons are unobtrusive and have a nice tactile clickiness to them. From a layout standpoint though, they could be a bit better. So while they feel comfortable enough and sit in the right position for your fingers to rest on, I find the top two buttons a bit harder to reach than I'd like. I'm guessing this is most likely due to a limitation with the DIY mod kit approach. There was probably a finite amount of spare space in the standard controller's casing to fit all the additional hardware. Yeah, I would have liked the top buttons to be located a bit further towards the center, and I do prefer the paddles on other controllers, but for what this costs, it's a design choice I'm willing to live with. From a performance point of view, it's pretty hard to fault. It's kind of ingenious in the way that it hacks the standard controller's existing functionality, and the buttons work as expected with no obvious latency, and remapping them is easy. In particular, I really like the pressure sensitive button for putting the controller into setup mode. It's not really a button, you hold your finger down on the bottom of the controller for 3 seconds and it detects it through some kind of witchcraft. You then just hold down the button you want to copy along with the button you want to assign it to, and that's it. The back buttons save their configuration too, so you don't have to reassign the buttons every time you turn the console on. The only feature it's missing is presets. The PS4 back button, for example, has 3 presets, meaning you can have a unique configuration for up to 3 games. If you plan on using this across multiple games, you'll either have to pick a universal button layout or remap buttons each time you swap games. This isn't a big deal for me, I'm quite happy having it set for the one game I mostly use it for, but I can see this being a pain if you plan on using the extra buttons to play a variety of different games on the regular. I must admit, I originally thought that not having access to the analog sticks would really limit my mileage, but aside from not being able to assign run to a back button in a game like Call of Duty, it still gives you a noticeable edge. Although their position isn't optimal, at least for my hands, it doesn't take long to get used to them, and they still provide a clear advantage over a regular pad. Because I've already reviewed the PS4 back button, I guess you're probably wondering how it compares and if I'd recommend this instead. I was one of the few people who felt that Sony's product was a little lacking, so I don't think there's a clear yes or no answer here, it really depends. If you only have one controller and you play lots of different games, then something that has presets and or that you can remove might be the way to go. If however you're going to be predominantly using it with the one game and or are happy to leave it configured in the one layout, then this might be a better alternative. Unlike an adapter, it doesn't add any additional bulk or need to be wired like some third-party products do. You get more buttons than Sony's solution and it's one of the cheapest options. Also, the fact that it works with an official charging dock is a big win in my opinion. Even if you do the solder-free install, I can definitely recommend this kit as a good economical solution to add extra buttons to your controller. If you have any further questions, feel free to hit me up. If you have a suggestion for what type of gaming hardware you'd like me to cover next, let me know. Like if you did, dislike if you didn't, subscribe if you haven't, the bell thing too, and thanks for your time.